harmful athlete in all sports. This guy literally and figuratively makes everyone around him significantly worse. He's terrible for chemistry. His team doesn't like him. There's something really off with this guy. He has no desire to win. He has zero heart. You look at him after losses, he doesn't even look a little bit down, even a little bit upset. Okay, this guy instinctively, I've never seen an athlete with worse instincts. This guy is the lowest IQ. He is the NFL's dumbest player by a mile. You take a 3rd down and 1, a big play in the game. All he has to do is pick up 1 yard. He's in the pocket. What does he do? He holds the ball too long. Okay? There's situations where they need a big play and he'll throw a check down, even though there's a guy open downfield. He'll run to the left when he should run to the right. He'll hold the ball on way too long when he needs to quickly get rid of it. Okay? He'll have a big 3rd or 4th down, 1 or 2 yards, where you have a guy open, 2 or 3 yards away from him. He'll bypass that and throw downfield. This guy has single-handedly ruined the Eagles franchise. You look at the fact that this guy has 0 playoff wins. He's 7-20 versus teams over 5. Just remember this. In 2018, the Eagles versus the easiest part of the schedule started off 5-6 with Carson Wentz. That same exact team versus the hardest part of the schedule with Nick Foles, who's a backup quarterback, won the remaining games of the season to get into the playoffs, and then won a playoff game and almost beat the Saints at the Dome. Carson Wentz lost to that same Saints team 48-7. In 2017, he had the easiest schedule, okay? And you had a bunch of guys that had not experienced winning before, so there was still a hunger to win for them, even though they didn't like Wentz at all. So they were able to overcome that dislike for Wentz and a lot of that terrible chemistry that he brings because they had an easy schedule. And remember, he didn't get the 1 seed or the 2 seed. They were playing the Rams in 2017, the 11th win that they had versus the Rams. When Carson Wentz got hurt that game, Nick Foles took over with the team losing. So if not for Nick Foles, they don't win that game. Remember, the 1 seed was 13 wins by the Vikings. Wentz didn't even win 11 games. Foles won the 11th game. Carson Wentz would have got destroyed in the first round had he played in the playoffs. He wouldn't have even had it a bye because he would have lost a few games after that, and the Eagles wouldn't have got the bye. The Vikings would have got the 1 seed. Okay? You look at 2019. They start off 5-7 with Carson Wentz, a team that everyone picked to make a Super Bowl run and get to a Super Bowl. Versus the easiest part of the schedule, Carson Wentz started 5-7 when the team was relatively healthy. Alshon Jeffrey, Aguilar, those guys played most of those games. Ertz, Goddard, Sanders, Kelsey, Brooks, Lane Johnson. Those guys started 5-7 with Wentz. They lost to the Lions. They lost to the Dolphins. They lost to the Falcons. This guy makes everyone significantly worse. Howie Roseman is the dumbest GM in sports. This is the same fool that built the failed 2011 Dream Team, the same 2012 Redeem Team that failed. This guy's never won a playoff game without Doug Peterson. He's never won a playoff game without Nick Foles. He has no clue about anything. There's no depth in his brain. Okay? He pays Carson Wentz over $100 million, even though 80% of the team hates him, even though the team plays significantly worse with Wentz, and he pays him over $100 million and gets rid of Foles. Okay? This guy is a horrible GM. He has no feeling about emotion. Everything is robotic. Everything is numbers. There's no depth behind the way he thinks. And they will never sniff a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. This guy single-handedly ruined the franchise. You had a guy like Nick Foles who took a team with average receivers, won a Super Bowl, then the next year was a drop pass away from potentially getting to a Super Bowl and maybe winning another Super Bowl. They could have been a dynasty with Nick Foles. Instead, they will never even make a Super Bowl with Wentz. Everything is downhill from here. This will go down as the worst decision in history, getting rid of Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP, beat the greatest quarterback, greatest coach of all time by putting up 41 points in the biggest game. He's 24-6 in his last 30 games as an Eagle. I mean, that is as good as a winning percentage as any player in the NFL. Okay, this guy has won every single big game they needed. Carson Wentz has never won a big game. He's never won a playoff game. All he does is lose to horrible teams. This guy is the worst thing to ever happen to the Eagles. And the fact that they even brought back Deshaun Jackson, a guy who's terrible for chemistry in his own way, who's a losing player, who is on much more talented teams than the team that Foles won a Super Bowl with, and yet no team's ever made a Super Bowl with Deshaun Jackson. No team's ever won anything with Deshaun Jackson. That was another horrible move by Howie Roseman, bringing back a toxic loser like Deshaun Jackson. So everything is completely downhill for the Eagles right now.